There are two types of business owners, those who are busy and those who want to be busy. Toast is designed for both, with tools to keep you humming and help turn grind into growth. That's how you turn busy into business. Toast, built for busy.
85 tomorrow, 82 on Friday. Richard Wedding at the Weather Channel for Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
It's 80 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Live from the heart of SEC country, this is your daily fix of grit, guts, and gridiron glory. Welcome to the Deep South College Football Show.
Owen, here it goes! Georgia retakes the lead!
Breaking down the biggest matchups, the boldest takes, and the deepest rivalries in college football on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC.
Intercepted! They confused him! Xavier Brown headed the other way! Touchdown Tide!
From Fayetteville to Gainesville, from the Grove to Toomer's Corner, it's SEC football. Now, here's your award-winning host, Wyatt Fulton.
Welcome into another edition here of the Deep South College Football Show on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports. Also hanging out on the Tide 100.9 Facebook page, the Deep South College Football Show YouTube channel, and my own personal Twitter account at FultonW_. So we greatly appreciate anybody who's watching us on those channels there as well here, as well as listening to us on the radio side, Tide 100.9. There's been a lot of discussion over the last couple of days about college football playoff expansion. We indulged in the conversation yesterday. Now there's a new bill. I know everybody's been talking about, the College Sports Commission and the House bill and things like that. And that can get really, really exhausting to talk about. That can be a lot to talk about, to discuss, right? It's a lot of headache. Going to be 100% honest with you, trying to understand all the legal jargon and things like that. So today, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a brief pause, right? Because the off season, there is no off season in college football, right? You talk about during the season, you talk about the games, the matchups, the things like that. And in the off season, you talk about, hey, future scheduling, future matchups, and all of the legal side of things when it comes to the world of college athletics. Well, the legal side of everything is very, very exhausting to talk about. I, for one, am not somebody who really understands a lot of the legal side of these things here. So looking at it here, bug on me, sorry. Looking at it here, let's take a brief pause and let's just talk some ball. Let's just talk football here. Who is going to be your Heisman contenders and pretenders for the college football season, the 2026 college football season? We're going to talk about that today here as we take a brief break from all the legal jargon, all the things like that are maybe a little bit more difficult. I know for me, I'm a football guy, right? I got my degree in journalism. I did not get it in, political science, political studies, anything like that. So all this may be a little bit difficult for me to understand, and I completely understand if you're in that boat as well here. So let's just talk some ball today. Heisman contenders, who are going to be some of the best players in college football this upcoming season. That'll be the conversation today here on the Deep South College Football Show. Here in the studio, Tide 100.9 studio, we got Jackson O'Brien hanging out with us behind the keyboard there, pushing the ones and twos. Jackson, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I can't complain. Glad the rain is kind of gone.
Yeah, the rain's kind of cleared up here in Tuscaloosa. Norris hanging out with us in studio as well. Norris, you doing all right today?
Yeah, I'm doing good. It's humid outside, but I'm still happy.
It's always humid down here in the South here. So we're talking Heisman Trophy contenders for this upcoming college football season here. You look at the last couple of Heisman Trophy winners this decade, the SEC is 3 for 3 in Heisman Trophy winners. 3 of 6 of the Heisman Trophies that have been awarded here during this decade have gone to the SEC. 2020 goes to Devontae Smith at Alabama. 2021, Alabama goes back-to-back with Bryce Young winning that award in 2021. 2022, it goes out west to USC as Caleb Williams wins the award. 23, it returns to the Southeastern Conference with Jaden Daniels and LSU. And then the last 2 seasons here, it has gone to teams not in the SEC. Travis Hunter won it at Colorado in 2024, and Fernando Mendoza at Indiana won it last season in 2025 here. So the SEC is now on a 3-year hiatus, a 2-year hiatus of not winning that Heisman Trophy, one of the most coveted awards in college football in terms of an individual award standpoint here. So who in the SEC could be the guy that goes out and wins the Heisman Trophy here? Who are some of the guys that we're keeping an eye on as, hey, this is somebody that we think can go win this Heisman Trophy. This is somebody that we think is going to be a premier playmaker this upcoming season in college football. Is it going to be a quarterback? We've had a quarterback win 4 out of the last 6 awards here. Devontae Smith and Travis Hunter being the only 2 that were not quarterbacks that won the award. And we haven't had a pure defensive player win the Heisman Trophy since Charles Woodson did it in 1997. Travis Hunter, yes, he played a little corner as well, but primarily he won the award because of what he was able to do on the offensive side of the ball, or maybe because of the versatility that he brought, right? He was a really, really good wide receiver, but he was also a really, really good cornerback. So being really good at 2 positions made Travis Hunter invaluable to the Colorado Buffaloes. But regardless, quarterbacks have won 4 out of the last 6 Heisman trophies, and no pure defensive player has won it since Charles Woodson, like we said, in 1997. No running back has won the award since Derrick Henry did it at Alabama in 2015. So who are the Heisman contenders for the upcoming season here? We'll start with the Heisman odds here. We don't have a sportsbook partnership, but these odds are courtesy of FanDuel Sports here. Your betting favorite to win the Heisman Trophy here for the 2026 season sits in South Bend, Indiana, with Notre Dame quarterback C.J. Carr, who was the starting quarterback for the Fighting Irish last season. Last season at Notre Dame, C.J. Carr, 2,700 passing yards, 24 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He also had 33 rushing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. So that tells us C.J. Carr may not necessarily be the most mobile, dual threat kind of quarterback out there. But after losing the first 2 games as a starting quarterback, remember Notre Dame lost to Miami by 3 points and then lost to Texas A&M by 1 point. So 2 losses by a combined 4 points for Notre Dame last season. He actually has a pretty good season after that there. Now, again, the competition level may not have been at that same standard, but he follows up those 2 losses with 223 yards and 2 touchdowns against Purdue, has his best day of his career against Arkansas in Fayetteville, 56-13. They won 354-4 there, looking at the matchup there against Arkansas. Threw multiple touchdowns after those 2 losses. He only had 2 games where he didn't throw multiple touchdowns there. That would be the game against USC, ironically, one of the only few ranked opponents that Notre Dame played last season, but still a 10-point win where he did score multiple touchdowns, but only threw for 1 against the Trojans. Also had 136 passing yards. Maybe it wasn't his best day against Lincoln Riley and the Trojans there. And then did he get banged up in that game against Syracuse? Because he's only got 49 passing yards and 1 touchdown in this matchup here. So I'm pretty sure he got hurt.
No, I don't think he got hurt. That's the game where Jeremiah Love had like 400 yards and like 5 touchdowns. Okay. So
they won 70-7. So, I mean, he clearly didn't play very long in that game there. But C.J. Carr, according to FanDuel Sports, is your betting favorite to win the Heisman Trophy next season at plus 750 when you look at Notre Dame's 2026 schedule, because you got to have a Heisman moment, right? That's been the biggest thing here recently, is that what's your Heisman moment? For Fernando Mendoza, it was the game-winning touchdown drive against Penn State there this past season. Travis Hunter, did he really even have a Heisman moment? I feel like Ashton Jeanty probably had one a little bit better than what Travis Hunter did. Jaden Daniels, his Heisman moment was defeating Ole Miss there. Caleb Williams, it was a comeback victory for Bryce Young. It was probably, I think he had 2. I think it was the shootout with Arkansas, and then it was the 97 yards in less than a minute in the Iron Bowl.
I would also say that he might have had 3. I know the Texas game was early in the year, but when that's when that shoulder injury first started, and he still took the reins and drove down the field to kick a field goal on the last play of the game.
That's fair. So I think Bryce Young probably had a couple of Heisman moments there. Devontae Smith, we all know that one, right? The one-handed catch in the back of the end zone against LSU there. So Joe Burrow, it was the 4th down run that he had to pick up a first down and effectively seal the victory against Alabama. So all that to say, you got to play pretty high-level competition. You got to play meaningful games. and you've got to perform well in those meaningful games. So you look at Notre Dame's schedule this season here. They opened the season against Wisconsin. As Josh Pate likes to put it, you got a food alert in week 2 as they take on Rice. They'll take on Michigan State after that here. If it is CJ Carr, that Heisman moment, because this schedule's not stellar, it is tougher than they've played in the past. I will give them credit there. It is at least tougher than what they've played in the past, with 3 preseason ranked opponents here when you look at BYU, Miami, and SMU. But those games come in the back half of the season there. They go to Provo, Utah on October the 17th. They host Miami on November the 7th, and then they host SMU on November the 21st there. For me, if CJ Carr does win the Heisman Trophy, it's probably a game-winning drive against the Hurricanes.
Right. I don't think this schedule is harder than last season's schedule for Notre Dame because they played Miami, A&M, and USC.
You also had to go to Miami.
Right.
Which is to Miami in September.
Right.
Is much, much more difficult than going to Provo, Utah in October.
Right. And, like, if you're a competent quarterback, you should be tearing up these teams that you're playing. If you're the quarterback for Notre Dame, looking at that schedule, you should be tearing up Rice. You should be tearing up Wisconsin. You should be tearing up Michigan State and BYU and SMU. Like, what?
By the way, at Purdue, September 26th.
So difficult. So difficult.
Purdue.
Like, you should be tearing them up too. Like,
yeah.
He might be a finalist, but I don't think you can give, unless he's just putting up like Joe Burrow numbers.
Right.
I don't think you can, in my opinion, give him the Heisman.
I also think we've seen, this is going to be weird, but I think we've seen kind of the devaluing of the Heisman Trophy over the last couple of seasons here. Not because maybe necessarily the players aren't as good as they were, although quarterback play in the late 2010s in college football was peak level. Eventually, you're going to regress to the mean at some point here, but I think the clock rules have really, really affected the way that these awards are kind of viewed, right? So for those that don't remember, the clock rules have changed in college football. It no longer stops when you pick up a first down. That used to be the case. The clock used to stop, at least the chains were set when you got a first down, and then you stepped out of bounds and the clock just flat out stopped in general now. Now the way the rule is, hey, that clock doesn't really stop anymore, right? It doesn't stop unless you've got forward momentum going out of bounds, and it doesn't stop, and it stops very, very briefly while the chains are reset. The only time that clock will actually stop is inside of 2 minutes in the second quarter and the fourth quarter. That's when things really start to compress time-wise. So effectively, these games that used to last, 4 hours are now lasting 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours, and that's real lifetime. But realistically, I mean, you're going from getting, 70 or so offensive plays a game to 50 offensive plays a game. So you're taking 20 plays a game away from an offense. Extrapolate that over a 12-game season, and it makes sense why last year's Heisman Trophy winner didn't have 40 touchdowns when, we saw Joe Burrow throw, 50, even just 5-6 years ago. So I think the clock rules have maybe changed the way that we need to view some of these awards, but at the same time, you got to be able to put up points.
Also, when you're just choosing to give the Heisman to the kid with the best story rather than on the best team rather than
the best player,
right.
Yeah.
Like, it's the Heisman Trophy. It's the best player on the field in all of college football, not the dude who has. And I'm not hating on Mendoza or Travis Hunter. I'm just saying, like, Ashton Genty probably should have won it. Jeremiah Love probably should have won it.
Yeah, Jeremiah Love carried Notre Dame last season. Ashton Genty, Boise State doesn't have the season that they have without Ashton Genty, even though they got kind of shellacked by Penn State in the college football playoff there. But so, okay, contender or pretender, CJ Carr out of Notre Dame?
It's a toss-up for me. I think, with that schedule, definitely a contender. But at the same time, like, we saw what happened when they faced quality competition. Like, he didn't play that well. Specifically that
That's
USC
fair.
game, and USC was not the best team in the Big Ten or one of the best teams in the Big Ten.
Yeah, USC definitely wasn't one of the best in the Big Ten there. But at the same time, with that schedule, you've got to put up great numbers, and then you've got to have, You can't be 9-3 and have a Heisman Trophy winner. At least I don't think, not if you're Notre Dame. You can't be 9-3 and have a Heisman Trophy winner. You're going to have to make some plays in some of these marquee games at BYU, against Miami, and against SMU. I'm going to go contender. I do think he is a contender. We make such a big deal about second-year quarterbacks staying in the same offense. It's what C.J. Carr is. We talked about it with Gunnar Stockton, right? Year 2 under Mike Bobo as a starting quarterback. We expect a lot of big things out of him. We expect a lot of big things out of Arch Manning, who we'll talk about here in a minute as well. Second year as a starter in that Steve Sarkisian offense. Well, we got to apply that same, if that's how we're going to view those guys, then we got to apply that same level of thinking to C.J. Carr. Second year, same offense. Now some of that pressure is going to be put on him now that you don't have Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price. Going to be a lot of pressure on him. Can he rise to the occasion? He's got some easy games early in the year to kind of ease his way into the season before you've got that marquee game at BYU on October 17th. Sneaky matchup against Bill Belichick in North Carolina on October 3rd. And by sneaky, I mean, we don't know what the hell Bill Belichick and North Carolina are going to be, so maybe that's a sleeper game there. We're off and running here on the Deep South College Football Show. We'll come back on the other side and continue talking. Can the SEC reclaim this award? They've got some good candidates for it. We'll talk about it on the other side. Tide 100 point.
You know what you can trust? The protection you get when you bundle home and auto insurance with Progressive. You know what you can't trust? Everything else, apparently. Like when you saw that article that said that thing you eat every day is a superfood and great for your gut health. But then 30 seconds later, a different article warns you to avoid it and it's taking years off your life. Well, which is it? Kind of a big difference there. Anyway, bundle home and auto insurance with Progressive for reliable coverage in a reliably unreliable world. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Hear that? That's the sound of busy. To a restaurant, all that shouting and banging might as well be a symphony. It means the long days and longer nights are paying off. Sure, it's noisy, but there's a worse sound. This, not busy. Busy means business, which is why Toast gives restaurants the tools and tech they need to help them perform under pressure. Sounds pretty good, right? Toast, built for busy.
For his clients. Remember M for money and Mezrano.
If it has a logo on it, call me. 205-800-8000.
What does it mean to advertise and do your marketing with Town Square Media Tuscaloosa? Melissa started her business in 2014. What would you say to someone considering Town Square Media Tuscaloosa?
My experience with Town Square Media has been awesome, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone. I think that this is the first time in my marketing experience that I've been able to see my return on investment. I would definitely say in the past that has not been the case. In this, I like knowing that that's 100%. A lot of the marketing we've done has been radio. You guys have so much more to offer than that, whether it's, websites from targeted marketing to radio. You are kind of a one-stop shop, and it makes doing marketing so much easier. So I would definitely recommend it.
There are two types of business owners, those who are busy and those who want to be busy. Toast is designed for both, with tools to keep you humming and help turn grind into growth. That's how you turn busy into business. Toast, built for busy.
Possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more or visit TremfyaRadio.com.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Here's your Tuscaloosa and West Alabama forecast. Moisture surging in from the south will trigger likely showers and storms this afternoon, reaching 86, which is right on target for our normal for this time of the year. Storms will remain a threat tonight. Lows tonight near 70. Unsettled pattern continues through the rest of the week with a series of disturbances keeping rain chances high. 85 tomorrow, 82 on Friday. Richard Weathing at the Weather Channel for Town Square Media Tuscaloosa.
It's 83 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
A national championship team covering a national championship team. The best sports talk in the state. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
We're back with the Deep South College Football Show right here on Tide 100.9 at 12:30 AM WTBC, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports. We're talking Heisman contenders for the 2026 college football season. We talked about Notre Dame's C.J. Carr in the last segment here, and now we head back into the SEC. As your second betting favorite to win the Heisman Trophy is Arch Manning at the University of Texas at plus 800. So second betting favorite there. These odds are courtesy of FanDuel Sports. Texas, we expect a lot of things out of Texas this season here. And I'm sure our favorite Texas caller will call in here shortly to tell us about it. But Texas, they get the easy game to start the season. Texas State, whoop-de-doo, and then boom, Ohio State, 6:30 on ABC in week number 2. UTSA at Tennessee on Saturday, September the 26th. They get a week off, and then Red River Shootout, Florida, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, at Missouri, at number 15. I guess this is loosely preseason poll here on FB schedules, but at LSU, Arkansas, at Texas A&M to end the season here. When you look at the schedule for the Texas Longhorns, you almost never want to bet on the betting favorite because it's very rare that they actually do go out and win this thing. I mean, Bryce Young was the favorite in 2022. Caleb Williams ends up winning it that season. Caleb Williams was one of the favorites in 2023. Jaden Daniels wins it that year. Fernando Mendoza wasn't anywhere near the top of the Heisman board last season. Well, he ended up winning the award. So I don't know that you can necessarily look at some of these guys that are inside that top 5 when you look at the Heisman Trophy odds here. But if there is one of these guys that I probably would, sprinkle a little bit of my hard-earned cash on, it's probably Arch Manning and Trinidad Chambliss. And again, we'll talk about Trinidad here in a minute as well. But same thing kind of with CJ Carr. You've got to perform well against your bottom feeder teams. Texas State, UTSA, you expect to blow them out of the water. Arkansas, no disrespect to the Razorbacks, but you expect to blow them out of the water. But then you got to have that quote-unquote Heisman moment. Jackson, could we see a Heisman moment in week 2? Against Ohio State? I know that was a very defensive-led game last season, but I think all the hype that last year's matchup got between Texas and Ohio State for the firepower on offense, I think that could probably translate again to this year.
I agree. I would say, though, I think that with it being week 2, I think the offenses are going to be, a little slow, which could, suggest that fourth quarter you may see a Heisman-type moment like that from Arch or Julian Saint. Now, that remains to be seen. I do think that game will probably be another defensive game.
Yeah.
So, it's definitely in the possibility.
I worry about both these defenses, right? I mean, losing the guys that Texas lost, Malik Muhammad, Michael Taft, Anthony Hill Jr., those are massive, massive losses for Texas. And then on the flip side for Ohio State, I understand Ohio State is a defensive factory. I understand what they can do on the defensive side of the ball, but you're going to see some sort of regression, at least early in the season, when you lose guys like Arvell Reese, like Sonny Styles, like Caleb Downs, the guys that they did lose in the first round, or not lose, put in the first round of the NFL draft this past April. And then, by the way, Khalif McDonald as well. I know we kind of anticipated him to maybe be a first-round prospect. He ends up going in the second round to, I believe, the Houston Texans, but still, that's a lot of key talent that you've lost on that side of the ball. Whereas on the offensive side, you retain Julian Say. If you're Ohio State, you retain Julian Say and you retain Jeremiah Smith. Bo Jackson's still there. You bring in Chris Henry Jr. for Texas. You retain Arch Manning. You add Hollywood Smothers and Raleek Brown. Ryan Wingo and Cam Coleman are there at wide receiver. Just the offensive firepower and the fact that these two quarterbacks now have a full season of starting experience under their belt. We saw them progress as players throughout the course of the season. I just think that this game is probably, it's not going to be 14-7 again. Could we see a 34-31 type of game?
I think that's possible. I know I said defensive, but I don't think it'll be 14-7 defensive, heavy. I would be surprised if it was more like 24-17 kind of a game, but
This isn't going to be, your typical shootout where it's, we're watching Pac-12 after dark and it's 56-52. That's not what this is going to happen. That's not what's going to happen in this game. These defensive coordinators and defensive players are just too good for that. But I do think you see a little bit more offensive firepower in this game compared to what you saw last year. The timing is better for a lot of these for these two quarterbacks and their receivers. So not 14-7, but you're thinking probably 24-17, 24-20, something like that.
Something like that, and I think it's heavily dependent on Texas's offensive line because while Ohio State is losing, key factors on that defensive front, they also brought in, who did they bring in from Alabama? It was James Smith.
James Smith and Quay Russaw.
Right. Okay. So are they going to be a factor in that game? Probably. Now, will they be,
They normally get up for big games, so yeah, they'll be factors in that game.
Right. Like, are they going to be Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles? No, but
probably not.
They'll have some, and I think that goes to show, like, again, Texas's offensive line, which struggled last year. Are they going to be able to fix those and run the ball, protect Arch? Because those were their two biggest issues last year.
Yeah, the only thing that is kind of holding me back on Texas is that offensive line. And I mean, you could point to that across the board in college football. I mean, Alabama had offensive line issues. Texas had them. Oklahoma had them. Well, there's, 3 of your top 6 teams in the SEC last season. Tennessee's got offensive line problems. Georgia, we don't expect to have offensive line problems. But what about Ole Miss? They lost a couple of key guys there along that offensive line. I mean, Texas A&M, lost a couple of big guys in the trenches on both sides of the ball. So, I mean, most of your SEC contenders, your biggest questions for them are, hey, are you going to be able to protect your quarterback? This multi-million-dollar guy that you got back here slinging the rock, are you going to be able to keep him upright? Or is he going to be scrambling for his life, not able to set his feet and really lean into some of these throws that you're going to be expecting them to make, these highlight reel plays that you expect out of some of these guys? So, Arch Manning, contender or pretender in 2026?
Definitely a contender, just based on, I think, that run game will improve. You bring in, like you said, Smothers and Raleek Brown, and then you add Cam Coleman opposite Ryan Wingo. Like, that's deadly dual threat weapons out there. And I think I think they'll be able to toss the rock around.
That's a really solid group of receivers there, but hey, trenches win ball games. We saw it last season. I know it's not the sexy topic. It's not what everybody wants to talk about. They want to talk about the high-flying quarterbacks, the receivers, the run game. But at the end of the day, offensive and defensive line, that's what wins you championships in not only college football, but the NFL as well. We'll go ahead and take this next time out, and on the other side, we'll keep talking about this conversation here. Heisman contenders. We'll dive back into the SEC with Trinidad Chambliss, but then we'll take a trip up to Big Ten.
There are two types of business owners: those who are busy and those who want to be busy. Toast is designed for both, with tools to keep you humming and help turn grind into growth. That's how you turn busy into business. Toast, built for busy.
While supporting the Tuscaloosa Public Library Bookmobile. Hosted by The Noon Show and 205 Restaurant and Bar. Presented by Harrison Construction, Town Square Media, and BF Goodrich. Tickets at Eventbrite.com.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Coming up on the Tuesday edition of The Game, we'll talk to Mike Detillier. We'll talk to Aaron Torres. We'll talk to Nick Kelly live from SEC Spring Meetings. Coming up starting at 2 p.m. on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
The longest running sports talk show in Tuscaloosa. The Game with Ryan Fowler. Weekdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC. And streaming worldwide on the free Tide app.
What does it mean to advertise and do your marketing with Town Square Media Tuscaloosa? Melissa started her business in 2014. What would you say to someone considering Town Square Media Tuscaloosa?
My experience with Town Square Media has been awesome, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone. I think that this is the first time in my marketing experience that I've been able to see my return on investment. I would definitely say in the past that has not been the case. In this, I like knowing that that's 100%. A lot of the marketing we've done has been radio. You guys have so much more to offer than that, whether it's, websites, from targeted marketing to radio. You are kind of a one-stop shop, and it makes doing marketing so much easier. So I would definitely recommend it.
For more,
hear that? That's the sound of busy. To a restaurant, all that shouting and banging might as well be a symphony. It means the long days and longer nights are paying off. Sure, it's noisy, but there's a worse sound. This, not busy. Busy means business, which is why Toast gives restaurants the tools and tech they need to help them perform under pressure. Sounds pretty good, right? Toast, built for busy.
6829. That's 800-923-6829. What do you have to lose? Call 800-923-6829. Again, 800-923-6829.
Hey, y'all. This is Alabama offensive lineman William Sanders, and you're listening to Tide 100.9, the home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
Talking Heisman contenders and pretenders here. Let's dive into Ole Miss here with Trinidad Chambliss, who is your third betting favorite to win the Heisman Trophy at plus 1,100. Chambliss kind of burst onto the scene last season in place of Austin Simmons, who was banged up to start the season there. Comes in, Trinidad does, and takes the starting job there away from Austin Simmons, who I would say kind of lost the job due to injury. But Trinidad Chambliss is back in Oxford, Mississippi. They start the season against Louisville in Nissan Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee. They get Charlotte, and then they host LSU and go to Florida before a bye week on Saturday, October the 3rd. The latter portion of the schedule here at Vanderbilt, Missouri, at Texas, Auburn, Georgia, at Oklahoma, Wofford in Cupcake Week, which, by the way, real quick sidebar, the SEC athletic directors have voted to basically get rid of Cupcake Week. So they have basically elected, hey, we're going to play conference games that next to last week of the regular season. So rather than, get that last little cupcake tune-up, maybe rest some guys prior to playing your rival. I know Alabama did it with Eastern Illinois this past season where they sat Parker Brailsford and Jeremy Bernard in that ball game against Eastern Illinois. So that way they were fully healthy and ready to go for the Iron Bowl the next week in Auburn. You no longer get that starting in 2027. So this is effectively the last week of Cupcake, or the last season of Cupcake Week. You're still going to play those opponents. You're just probably going to play them in week 1, week 2, maybe week 3 now, or you'll kind of sprinkle them in. I know Ole Miss a couple of seasons ago got through like half of their SEC schedule and then played Washington State. So I imagine you may start to see some more of that, where that cupcake game is going to be sprinkled in and around kind of where their bye weeks are going to be. But Ole Miss finishes the season, of course, with the Egg Bowl against Mississippi State. No Charlie Weiss for Ole Miss. Remember, he was the offensive coordinator last season under Lane Kiffin. He's now sitting in Baton Rouge with Lane Kiffin. Head coach Pete Golding is a defensive-minded head coach. So they bring in John David Baker, who was previously the offensive coordinator at East Carolina, to be the new offensive coordinator at Ole Miss. However, that does not mean that he is the quarterback's coach. Joe Judge is listed as the quarterback's coach and the head coach of offense for Ole Miss. For those that don't remember, Joe Judge was the co-offensive coordinator and quarterback's coach in New England for the Patriots during the Mac Jones era there in Foxborough, Massachusetts. Jackson, maybe somebody who's listening or watching can explain this to me here. What does a head coach of offense do compared to being an offensive coordinator? Are you the play caller? Like what does it mean to be a head coach of offense versus being an offensive coordinator? Like, what's the distinction there?
I would feel like head coach of offense is kind of like a floater role at practicing in the games, where they're coaching line, skill position, tight ends, maybe a little bit of quarterback in there, and just kind of making sure everything gels together, while offensive coordinator is actually the one creating the plays, calling the plays, and that sort of thing.
Okay, so that makes sense here. But Trinidad Chambliss here, one of the two key pieces returning in that Ole Miss backfield there, when you look at the other one being Koan Lacey at running back. Jackson, do we consider Trinidad Chambliss to be a contender or a pretender when it comes to the Heisman Trophy?
Absolutely a contender. I mean, all you had to do was watch that Sugar Bowl. Watch the Miami game. It's right there in your face. Watch the first time Georgia played Ole Miss. Kid's electric.
But now, Harrison Wallace, Caden Lee, and Dazon Stribling are no longer there. So he's got a whole new trio of wide receivers in Oxford. Do you see any dip in play from Trinidad Chambliss because of the fact that you've got a bunch of new weapons on offense?
I don't know if I see a dip in his play, but definitely a dip in like the skill position play, where he might be looking at more drop passes, more wrong routes run, that kind of a thing. Whereas that's going to cause him to step up and maybe do a little more magic than what he was required to do last year.
We're going to rattle off a couple of these guys here. Just quick little contender or pretender and a quick reason why. Julian Sayin at Ohio State, plus 1,200 odds.
This one's difficult because, I mean, he was obviously a contender last year. I mean, he could definitely be another a contender again. But, I mean, really it's just Jeremiah Smith now. And then I know I'm never going to, doubt that Ohio State wide receiver room. I'm sure they have 3 more guys that are ready to go first round in the NFL draft. But I think it'll be a little more difficult. I think you'll see Ohio State probably lean more on their run game this season than throwing the ball.
I'm going to say contender just because when you've got a guy like Jeremiah Smith, who we considered last season to be a dip in his play, and he still had 1,200 yards. When you've still got a guy like that, I think your quarterback pretty much has got to go to New York at that point if he can get that guy the football. Josh Hoover, plus 1,200, tied with Julian Say, new quarterback at Indiana.
Pretender.
Why?
I feel like they're going to be, again, this season, Indiana will be another defensive-laden team where they're leaning on that defense, especially with these new pieces that are coming in on their offense. Now, is Nick Marsh going to be, an Elijah Surratt? Remains to be seen. I definitely think he has the potential, but again, who is he going to be throwing to outside of Nick Marsh? The white kid.
Charlie Becker is back. Charlie Becker is back there, who had some really big plays for Indiana last season. But
if he can tone down the interceptions,
yeah,
sure,
yeah. I think Josh Hoover, the best spot he could have gone is Indiana. I 110% believe that. But I'm going to lean pretender here as well. You're losing Kalen Black and Roman Hemby at running back there, so you don't really have that valuable safety net that you can trust, that's been in that system, that's been in that offense, that has the experience, that big game experience for Indiana. You're losing, like you mentioned, Elijah Surratt and
Omar Cooper
Jr., who were 2 phenomenal receivers last season. I think Indiana's probably the best spot he could have gone. He's got to cut down the turnovers, though. And how many of those turnovers were mistakes by his playmakers versus, maybe a bad read or the defense fooled him there.
Or him,
and everybody's going to be, or forcing the ball. And everybody this season is going to be circling Indiana. They've got a target on their back now because they're the reigning national champion. You're going to get everybody. Indiana's not flying under the radar. They're not sneaking up on anybody anymore. Indiana's going to get the full front of Ohio State, the full front of Michigan, of USC, of Washington, who I think are the 4 toughest games on their schedule this season.
Yeah, they don't play Penn State, I don't think.
I don't believe they get Penn State. We know they get Purdue, they get Rutgers. I'm not worried about Nebraska anymore for them now that Dylan Raiola is, like I said, he's handing water bottles off to Dante Moore. So not overly worried about Nebraska anymore at this point. So you've really got 4 games that you got to get up for. Michigan, Ohio State being the big obvious 2. USC, I think, is kind of a sleeper this season in the Big Ten. Lincoln Riley's done a really good job of kind of revamping that defense there finally in Los Angeles. And Jaden Maiava is a very underrated quarterback, in my opinion, here as well. So, but you really got to pay attention to those 3. Washington is another sneaky one. Jed Fish has done a really good job with that team up there. Keeping Damon Williams was a massive, massive piece of success for them this past offseason. And he's another guy that I think if we were doing hey, this guy's a dark horse for the Heisman Trophy, I'd probably throw Damon Williams out of Washington in that category here as well.
I would too. I mean, there's a reason Lane Kiffin almost got him to LSU.
Tried.
Yeah.
There is a very big reason Kiffin tried there. Dante Moore at Oregon. Contender, pretender?
Contender. I just think, Evan Stewart's coming back. DeCorian Moore's back. You basically got almost everybody returning for Oregon.
Yeah.
They're going to be really good. If they don't win the Big Ten, I'll be surprised. I think Dante Moore, coming back to progress one more year was absolutely the right move for him. Plus, he got a nice
100%.
bag out of it. So,
I mean, look, I'll go back to college if I can get a nice bag for it. I don't blame him whatsoever. You're telling me I get a fat paycheck and I don't have to go play for the New York Jets? Sign me up.
Right, and I'll probably still be projected a top 10 pick in next year's draft if I don't get hurt.
Yeah, you're basically guaranteed a top 10 pick in next year's draft, just like you said, assuming barring injury there. Good chance you're number 1 overall. I mean, if you have the type of season that you're expected to have, there's a very good chance Dante Moore goes number 1 overall here. Darian Mensah, Miami, new quarterback for the Miami Hurricanes after transferring there from Duke last season. Malachi Toney's still there. Mark Fletcher's still there. So you've got the weapons on offense to kind of boost him up a little bit.
I'm going to say a hot take here. I think while I do think he'll be a really good quarterback for Miami, I think Mark Fletcher will be the Heisman candidate for that Miami team.
I like that a lot. There. If a quarterback does win it, I'd probably put money on Darian Mensah right now. As of May 27th, if you're telling me you're back from the future, hey, a quarterback is guaranteed to win the Heisman Trophy this year, which they damn near are anyways, my money's probably going on Darian Mensah, flying low enough under the radar that he's not, one of these betting favorites here, but a very talented player that had Duke playing well above what their ceiling probably should have been last season. Now he's got probably a top 3 receiver in college football in Malachi Toney. Phenomenal run game with Mark Fletcher, a team hungry because they're fresh off a national championship loss. If you told me a quarterback wins the award, I'd probably go Darian Mensah plus 1,300 here. Let's jump out on the phone lines here real quick. We'll take a brief pause from this conversation. Let's head down to Louisiana and let's talk with Digger. Digger, how you doing?
All right, good. Well. Congratulations to the athletic directors and the coaches for having a spine. I know this is a problem for Tommy from Romulus and Pat and your big whining butthole Ryan Fowler, because y'all don't have that pillow fight anymore in week 11. It's nice to see that they've grown a pair. Let the carnage begin.
All they're gonna do is just play this game in week 3 now. That's all they're gonna do.
Let them. That's fine. They didn't have a little warm up.
They didn't amend the schedule whatsoever. Like, you're still playing 9 conference games and 1 Power 4 opponent. The same thing you're going to do this season.
Right, they're just going to push the start of conference play back a week.
Right.
And look, here,
oh, no, Georgia gets to play South Carolina the week before Georgia Tech now.
I got to say, man.
And Texas will get to play Auburn and Jordan-Hare a week before they play A&M, so good luck with that, buddy.
Yeah, I'm just saying. 9 SEC games, we better vote in 16 or 24. Because there's going to be some people in the SEC with 3 losses that will not get in. And maybe 2.
For sure, but you need to have – it's not about the size of the field. That's about how they consider who's in the field. Like, if you're not taking into strength of schedule metrics, that's on them.
We took a hard lesson on that last year. They don't consider the strength of schedule.
You lost to Florida.
And we lost to Ohio State. And we lost to
Georgia.
Ohio
State and Georgia games are not going to catch you out.
And you keep belly aching about Florida. But I'm telling you, when it was all said and done, you had 3 or 4 teams in there that Texas beat that was in the playoff. Okay? So I'm just saying. We're going back and forth on this. Just say it. If you got 9 SEC games scheduled, you better bump this thing up to 16 or 24. Somebody's going to be howling. And it wouldn't be surprising if it was Alabama.
The SEC is getting taken advantage of right now because they were told, if you go to 9 conference games, we'll expand this thing to 16 with the 4 automatic qualifiers, everything that we talked about last year.
And
with college
strength of schedule will be the number 1 metric of getting into the playoff.
And the SEC went to 9 conference games, and the Big Ten said, psych, we want to go to 24, and now we're going to change how these automatic qualifiers are put in. The SEC
and I know Sankey's holding out. I know Sankey's holding out. Now, get it.
That's his last play. That's the last card Greg Sankey has to play, is I've got to hold out at this point.
And you've got athletic directors and coaches are not agreeing. They're not in lockstep with them. So, I mean, something's got to come to a head. And I'm telling you, you can leave it at 12, but we're going to be howling about who's not getting in.
The athletic directors and coaches of the bottom half of the SEC, I don't think their opinion on expanding to 24 is really that valid. Because like what Mike Elko said, it's self-preservation.
Yep. That was a brilliant take.
Screw it. Oh, that was. Yep. I said it yesterday. Elko said it best. Let's go to 40, right? Let's go to 40 because then my job's safe. If we're at 40, I'm going to be in that thing every single year.
Like, why do we have to validate the opinion of Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, who else? Maybe Arkansas, like Auburn. Like, of course you want an expanded field. You just want to have a chance to say you got in the dance.
I made the college football playoff. How dare you fire me? I am a playoff head coach. Well, guess what? So is a third of the sport. Not really that special at that point. Not really a big deal at that point. We'll go ahead and take this break, wrap up the loose ends on the other side. Tide 100.9 at 1230 AM WTBC.
Now, this hour's West Alabama real-time news update from the Tuscaloosa Thread Newsroom.
A federal district court ruling that the map the state wants to use in the August congressional special election is racially discriminatory has prompted an appeal by Secretary of State Wes Allen.
There's a lot of coordination going on, a lot of discussions going on right now.
It's not known how long it will take the high court to rule. Tuscaloosa County prosecutors are requesting a June 2nd preliminary hearing date for the man charged with the murder of DCH nurse Ada Doss be moved to June 15th due to a conflict. And more showers and thunderstorms are in the forecast this afternoon. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more news. I'm Don Hartley.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Coming up on the Tuesday edition of The Game, we'll talk to Mike Detillier. We'll talk to Aaron Torres. We'll talk to Nick Kelly live from SEC Spring Meetings. Coming up starting at 2 p.m. on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
The longest running sports talk show in Tuscaloosa. The Game with Ryan Fowler. Weekdays.
There are two types of business owners. Those who are busy and those who want to be busy. Toast is designed for both, with tools to keep you humming and help turn grind into growth. That's how you turn busy into business. Toast, built for busy.
Let compact tractors sell in soon. Stop by Tuscaloosa Tractor at 3921 Skyland Boulevard East or go to Kubota.com.
What does it mean to advertise and do your marketing with Town Square Media Tuscaloosa? Melissa started her business in 2014. What would you say to someone considering Town Square Media Tuscaloosa?
My experience with Town Square Media has been awesome, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone. I think that this is the first time in my marketing experience that I've been able to see my return on investment. I would definitely say in the past that has not been the case. In this, I like knowing that that's 100%. A lot of the marketing we've done has been radio. You guys have so much more to offer than that, whether it's, websites from targeted marketing to radio. You are kind of a one-stop shop, and it makes doing marketing so much easier. So I would definitely recommend it.
There are two types of business owners. Those who are busy and those who want to be busy. Toast is designed for both, with tools to keep you humming and help turn grind into growth. That's how you turn busy into business. Toast, built for busy.
Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Here's your Tuscaloosa and West Alabama forecast. Moisture surging in from the south will trigger likely showers and storms this afternoon, reaching 86, which is right on target for our normal for this time of the year. Storms will remain a threat tonight. Lows tonight near 70. Unsettled pattern continues through the rest of the week with a series of disturbances keeping rain chances high. 85 tomorrow, 82 on Friday. Richard Weathing at the Weather Channel for Town Square Media Tuscaloosa.
It's 84 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Roll Tide, the best sports talk, period. Your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
We're getting ready to wrap up the loose ends here on the Deep South College Football Show. Jackson will end with this here, all right? We're going to go a dark horse candidate to win the Heisman Trophy here. So somebody kind of outside of the top 10 in the odds here, and I will give you the top 10 here so that we can kind of be thinking about your dark horse candidate here. From 1 through 10, C.J. Carr, Notre Dame, Arch Manning, Texas, Trinidad Chambliss, Ole Miss, Julian Sayin, Ohio State, Josh Hoover sits at number 5 out of Indiana, Dante Moore 6 at Oregon, Darian Mensah 7 at Miami, Jeremiah Smith number 8 at Ohio State, Gunnar Stockton number 9 at Georgia, and Sam Levitt number 10 at LSU. Outside of those guys, give me a dark horse guy that you think could win the Heisman Trophy this year, or that you think has a really, really good shot at winning the Heisman Trophy this season? Because all these guys could probably win the Heisman Trophy, but a really, really good shot at winning it this upcoming season. And Gunnar is in the top 10.
Yeah.
I counted again to make sure.
I mean, he is in the last two, but maybe Kewan Lacey.
Okay.
Mark
be the first
Mark
running
Fletcher.
back to win it.
Yeah. Well, if it's going to be a running back, because there's not really one. There isn't one in those top 10 odds, is there?
There is not. No. Kewan Lacey is plus 12,500. I don't even want to know what that money would look like if you won. Mark Fletcher's plus 15,000.
Is Ahmad Hardy on there, or he dropped because of this?
No, he was higher on this list, but he's tied with Kewan Lacey at plus 12,500. He dropped after the incident.
Okay, one of those three running backs. But honestly, if Keelan Russell starts, he's got the tools.
You took mine.
He's got the tools.
Plus,
I was debating whether or not to say it or not, but I definitely think in his time here at Alabama, he will be at least a finalist for the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah, I agree. He's plus 3,000. If you're solely looking at betting odds to determine the Alabama starting quarterback, which I highly discourage against doing that, but if that is what you decide to do, Keelan Russell's plus 3,000 to win the Heisman Trophy. Austin Mack is plus 5,500. Austin Mack and Ty Simpson were tied at this time last year. So at least, I don't know, sports betting believes that Keelan Russell will be the starting quarterback at Alabama.
Vegas always knows.
Vegas knows something. There's a reason those buildings are big and shiny. This doesn't really feel like a dark horse, so I'll give this guy, but then I'll give another one here. Just that way it's not kind of a cop-out answer. John Mateer, Oklahoma, plus 3,500, was the betting favorite, or was the favorite to win the Heisman Trophy before.
Hear that? That's the sound of busy. To a restaurant, all that shouting and banging might as well be a symphony. It means the long days and longer nights are paying off. Sure, it's noisy, but there's a worse sound. This, not busy. Busy means business, which is why Toast gives restaurants the tools and tech they need to help them perform under pressure. Sounds pretty good, right? Toast, built for busy.